Hey babes, are you ready to make today a great day? I am. This is my first official DIY vlog for you guys. I hope you guys like it. I wanted to use a no-sew method for you guys. That way, in case you guys don't have the ability or the resources, you can still make your own hoodies. And luckily, I did it first, so I get to tell you what not to do too. With that being said, without further ado, my very first DIY. Hope you like it. Alright babes, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out our shirt or our hoodie. We're going to make sure that we get out all of the wrinkles so we have maximum canvas space and you know what you're working with. You're going to take your pre-printed stencil and measure it out to make sure that it's going to fit and you're going to like how it looks. I had to reprint my stencil a couple times over, so just prepare yourself for that. After you find your fit, remove your hoodie and you're going to have to lay out your stencil. You're going to use your X-Acto knife to carefully cut around your printed out page. Make sure that you are preserving the letters. We're not using the outside. Also, hindsight being 2020, I definitely should have started this process with a box underneath my paper. This is going to take some time, so make sure you're somewhere nice and comfortable. Maybe kick on some Netflix just to help pass the time because it is a little bit time consuming. After you're done though, your stencil should look something like this. Make sure you lay it off to the side nice and neat. We will be bringing it back in just a second. The next thing I'm going to need you to grab is the interface webbing. This is going on the back side of the material we'll be gluing to the hoodie. It's going to give it an extra layer, that way if your lettering is as thin as mine is, it will keep the material from ripping. So I ended up using the other half of my stencil and I used that as a guide for how much I would need as far as material goes for creating the final look of the hoodie. I also gave myself a little bit of extra, that way in case I mess up, which I did, I would have the ability to only go back one step instead of having to start over from square one. So after you cut the interface, you're going to lay it on top of your material and you need to repeat the process of cutting out a piece of material that is the same size as the interfacing. Pro tip, before you cut this out, go ahead and plug in your iron so it's ready for the next step. Once you have finished cutting, you're going to take your iron and make sure that the interfacing again is lined up with the back side of your material. You're going to just go ahead and take a couple strokes across the material to make sure that the interfacing and the material bind together. Use the rough side of the interfacing touching the back side of the material. Next, you're taking your stencil and just double checking before you start the process that you have enough room to complete this. Next, you're taking spray adhesive and just giving a couple sprays to the back side of the stencil. You're going to lay it down on your material and pat it down, giving it a few seconds to dry. It will not permanently stay there, but it'll stay there well enough that you can cut out your design. Now here I'm using an X-Acto knife, but by the end of the process I realized it's much faster to just cut it with scissors. After you have it all cut out, lay it back out on your hoodie, take some fabric glue and glue that sucker down. So that was my very first DIY crop hoodie, aka you can make whatever you want, live your own life, but I hope you guys liked it. Also, hope you like the new hair. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Before we go, I want to give you guys some tips and tricks, that way when you're doing this, you don't have to deal with the same stuff I had to deal with. So tip number 1, use an X-Acto knife when you're cutting the paper to make your stencil. But when it comes to the material, it was easier for me to cut it. Tip number 2 is probably use a thicker font, because like I like mine but I kind of wish it was thicker. And tip number 3, which I emphasize this the most, just because it says it dries crystal clear doesn't mean it's not going to, you know, leave residue. But I'm hoping the glue I have specifically says wait 48 hours to wash it. So I'm hoping after a few washes it breaks up some of that like really hard line. So we'll see, we'll see. I'll post like a progress shout out later on to like let you guys know. But that was all, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and catch me on Thursday for your regularly scheduled vlog. And yes, we have already done some super fun things this weekend to show you on Thursday. And if you like my new bandana, watch Thursday's vlog. If you guys haven't already subscribed, you can click the little button on the bottom corner of the screen, or you can scroll down and click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a video. Or if you're already following me but not following me on my other social medias, at the end of this video I have my end card and it tells you my handle for everything. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter for live updates during the week, because if it's another week like last week ever, you'll know via Twitter. But with that, bye babes, love you.
Seriously had to stop with the mind reading.
Ah! This is why nothing gets done. Mom's trying to work. In case you guys are wondering why it takes me so long to actually do these DIY videos, it's because my cats take over and just think it's their house. Like, this is everything I'm trying to work with right now, and they're all laying it all over it. They're tag teaming. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Galileo.